How does nature do what it does? All those organisms, herds, the migratory patterns, the rhythm of natural life. How does that happen? They don't communicate to it. They don't have an MEL, a main events list. Right, Ravens, this is your job today. You've got to go on the church roof and squawk loudly. Seagulls, you are to steal chips as people leave the fish and chip shop. Salmon, it's now time to swim back to your spawning ground. Giant mantis, you're all now to swim to the southern shores of Zanzibar to go and have a breeding frenzy. No, they just know. They don't talk to each other. They don't. And the natural world is predominantly silent. And when an animal makes a call, it's to stake its territory. What's that little bird called? A robin is one, very territorial. Watch robins. I think it's a wren. It's a vicious little bastard. If you put up a bird box in a wren's territory, it will stuff that bird box with sticks and twigs and any garbage you can get in there to stop other birds from nesting, because it's saying, this is my area, this is where I survive, this is where I find my food, fuck off. But they don't communicate, but they make alarm calls. The other time is breeding, like the rutting deer and other animals. Wolf packs howling. You get the picture. It's territorial or it's breeding, which is part of the cycle of life. But there's no communication, no verbal communication. It just happens. They just know. They all start moving. The fucking mind boggles when you think about this. Israel, that ridiculous country in the Middle East. It's a bit of disputed land called the Golan Heights. Now on the Golan Heights, they've got a radar system, and it's to observe. Its primary purpose is to observe Arab activity in case there's another attack. But its secondary one is to observe migratory bird patterns, because billions, literally billions of migratory birds fly from Turkey, Greece, Scandinavia, Europe, and the migratory path is over Israeli airspace, and it plays fucking havoc with aircraft. Bird strike is not a good thing, so they use these radar systems to direct the traffic accordingly to avoid migratory flocks. Anyway, I digress. My point is this: is that nature knows what to do, but humans don't. They appear not to. That's why they've invented things like politicians who stand there and very sternly tell you what they're doing and why you have to support them. And then you have the media, which is just an echo chamber for the left or right political divide. Then you have the education system, telling you how to function, or how you need to function, to be a success in society. And society telling you what to do all the time. All these just fucking babble. And it says in the book, shout it from the rooftop. And I've been playing with that for a long time. and various other thoughts, and then taking no thought. And I've known this for a bit. I can read the Bible to, or any religious scriptures, and interpret it, what it's saying, what it's really about, in a very simple way. So you would understand it, but you'd have no experience of it. So you'd have a head full of knowledge, but no experience. The Houses of Parliament is full of people with knowledge and no experience. The Senate and the Congress and religious buildings are full of people with knowledge but no experience. But bizarrely, nature has no knowledge. Nature knows nothing. It knows no thing. This is why, was it Plato or Socrates said, "I know nothing"? That's the key. Because when you know nothing, you'll know something. When the cup is poured out, it can be refilled. Now I can talk and explain things to you. Whoopee fucking do. Doesn't help you. Won't help you at all. In fact, it's literally me pissing into the wind and telling myself it's not raining. Or rather, it is raining. I'm pissing on myself. Now, shouting from the rooftop. Now, you could understand that as shouting a warning to the people. Verbalizing it, which is one way. But it'll get them to pay attention, but it won't wake them up. And this is about waking up your Adam, your true self. But for Adam to wake up, the story that you tell yourself needs to get out the way. So, shouting from the rooftop is done in silence. And you keep your mouth shut. And what's in goes out. So it raises the consciousness of others through silence. And because I'm silent, others will be silent. And their mind will be silent. So their cup will be empty and it will be filled. That's how it works. That's why the character Jesus hated the scribes. Now I encourage people to read the book. And the reason for that is because the fucking morons that run this world, the sociopathic psychopaths, they are using that book as a kind of script. Even Bob Marley referred to it. They say, that some say the book has to be fulfilled. It's in one of his lyrics. I forget which song. I think it's the Redemption song. But prayer, the act of prayer, is silence. Like it says in the Old Testament, be still and know I am God. That's what it says. And shouting it from the rooftop is the pineal gland and consciousness going out. That's what it is. Because this is not something you can pass on verbally. It's not like a migratory elephant nudges the bull elephant. Hey, old man, It's time we got a shake on. It's time to migrate now. They just know. And it's time for humanity to know nothing. It's time for humanity to empty that cup. And when the cup's empty, it will receive. I've spent kind of like experimenting with it for the past 6 months, and in day-to-day conversation, explaining things to people. And today, 2 occasions, talking about Christmas, and I explain it, and it's just, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do a fucking thing. It's just information. People roll their eyes. It's not the way to do things. It just isn't. It's not communicated with words. It isn't. So even this video, me talking about these things, pissing into the wind. Now, I've still got the Book of Thomas to work through. And I've stopped because I've been mulling this over. For shits and giggles, I will do the Book of Thomas. And then people will just have knowledge, but no experience, until they go into their own silence. It's as simple as that. And I've said this in the past as well. If the masses just stopped talking, just stopped. Because you can do a lot of talking just with the face, with the eyes. When you take your stupid fucking masks off. And the minute we start talking, the ego gets involved. Always. Doesn't matter if you agree or disagree, it is always there. It gets in the fucking way. And it doesn't matter how pious you think you are, or how smart you think you are, or how stupid you think, doesn't matter. It always gets in the way. But if humanity stopped talking, I'm talking about the people, then the so-called powers that be they'd have no authority. It would simply disappear. Because if Boris Johnson or Donald Trump or fucking whatever idiot leader, and if you need to be led, you're an idiot. You need to be led by nature, not by these self-aggrandizing pricks. And if you're still supporting these people, oh yeah, Donald Trump's better than Joe Biden, it doesn't matter. It's all done. You've got to get away from that. Patriotism, politics and religion. Fucking all 3 of them. It's Satan's fucking trinity. But if you get away from that, but those idiots are still stood on their pedestals. Why aren't they responding? Why aren't they answering me? Why are they all quiet? What the silence? I don't understand. What are they going to do? Arrest people for being silent? No speaking. No writing, nothing. No communication. What's social media? Just fall on its fucking face. What's the entire system? Just rip itself apart. That would take no more than a couple of weeks. That is the biggest, the most expressive form of protest that humans can do. You simply do not fucking participate in their horseshit. You remain silent. And whilst all the powers that be are discussing it in wildly excited, exaggerated tones, why they're not being listened to anymore. It will be met by a wall of silence. Because you can still express love, gratitude, thanks, happiness, anger, all of those things. You can still express all of them without words, without babble. A simple touch, a look, a caress. Body language, when it comes to humans communicating, the spoken word is 10% of communication. They say 80% is body language, and there's another 10% there which is probably intuition. And we spend so much time looking for the right word in case we get caught out by semantics. Words. Silence. That's the way ahead. I'll continue with the Book of Thomas for what it's worth. And some of you will think you're very clever because you have new knowledge, because you get it. You might get it, but you haven't got it. That's the difference between knowledge and experience. It was Carl Jung that said, unearned wisdom is a dangerous thing. And that's why I and ah. That's why you see some celebrities doing this. Not all of them are evil. I think we need to get beyond this judging of each other, because once you get beyond the ego, we're all the same. We're all the same consciousness, but the individual has to raise their own consciousness to recognize that we are all sharing the same consciousness. And this needs to happen quite rapidly, because those that don't raise their consciousness will never get there. They'll be shut out of it. They will lose the ability to have or to be able to use logic and reason, and they will be trapped in the limbic and reptilian systems. They will have no access to higher cognitive function because they've rejected it. And so that consciousness rejects them. Like it's written, get away from me, I do not know you. And it's just about being known. Now in this world, in our cultures, to be known you have to make an introduction. Hello, I am whatever. And you have to tell a silly story. It's just a story. You shouldn't have to introduce yourself. Now some might be a bit dismayed to hear that. It's called tough love. Because until people take responsibility for themselves, because no other fucker will. No one else will. You know when life beats you up and people say, oh, poor you and all the rest of it? Is that real? Does that actually do anything for you? Or does it, like, it makes you feel better for a short while? A fleeting glimpse? Or do you recognise that ultimately it's fucking worthless? But if you was to tap into something in your own silence, and that inner silence was what reassured you, and when you was in that inner silence, the Good Samaritan appeared and took care of you. Then you'd have no need for sympathetic sound bites. I am utterly convinced that silence is, in fact convinced, I know, fact, that silence is the way ahead for humanity. Because let's face it, most of what we talk about is fucking shit anyway. Is it not? Garbage. Meaningless dribble. One opinion after the other. Of course you do have to talk though, to express an idea, or to explain to somebody what you would like or want. That's fine. But the less we speak, the better. And perhaps the less I speak, the better. Because what I have in will then go out. And as it goes out into the field that pervades everything, then I know the people that need will receive. And our paths will cross. That's a very recent realization for myself. Takes the heat off my ego as well. There's nothing wrong with the ego when it's a servant. The ego can defend itself for the purposes of harmony and peace. It shouldn't just take shit for the sake of taking shit. The meek shall inherit the earth, and nowadays the word meek is misunderstood. I forget what the word is in Greek. Basically, if something's happening or something's offended you, off-ended you, then you'll recognize that because your ego wants to defend itself, because it feels that it's being attacked. But 99% of the time it's just imagined. Nothing is actually happening to you. Nothing physically. It's all mental. But when the ego feels it's being attacked, then the emotions come into play. I still deal with this. And to not react, to know how to react right, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to go toe to toe with that knobhead and I'm going to fucking tune him in. But to not do that, knowing that you can, but choosing not to do that, is probably the wise thing. That's meek. That's what it means. It doesn't mean fucking shuffling around, looking at the floor like a fucking doormat. Because you can still stand your ground in total silence. You can do that just with a look, disdain, disgust, or express no emotion whatsoever, just the eyes. Anyway, enough of me talking. I shall continue with the Book of Thomas for what it's worth. And I might chuck some other pearls in there as well. When you're on this path, and if you are reading that book, a real Jew is somebody who's cleaned their house and meditates. That's a real Jew. And he practiced the act of prayer in silence. Silence. So if you do those things, then you are the truest definition and living expression of a Jew. I'm not talking about that religious fucking cult. Now, the ancient word for a Jew is Yahuda. And for a singular, for an individual, it's Yahudum. Now, Judas, the traitor, he wasn't a traitor. That's what you've been taught. His name in the ancient text was Yahuda. Oh, sorry, Yahuda is the individual, and Yahudum is the collective. So Judas, Yahuda, was an individual that practiced meditation and cleaning his house and silence, prayer. And Jesus said to him, go and do what you need to do and do it quickly. Now, it was the Jews that killed Jesus. And when you understand that, okay, I meditate, I practice silence, and I've cleaned my house, and I've raised the Kundalini, I protect my sacred secretion, then therefore I am a Jew. So then you will understand that you are Yahuda, which is Judas. And you are trying to raise the secretion up here, to burn it off. To burn off the lamb so there's nothing left. So Yahuda, the Jew, sacrifices himself, his ego, for higher consciousness. That is what it means to be reborn. That's what it is. So, when you are observing the Sabbath, or your sacred secretion, the 3 days, you are trying to raise the lamb to burn it off. You're trying to kill it. Okay? So you are Judas. He's not a traitor. Judas is somebody who recognizes truth. And that's how religion and Babel has convoluted the truth and just twisted everything around. It's like they say Cain was evil because he killed his brother. Yeah, that's a low consciousness understanding. But he wasn't evil. He was lamenting his problem to God, and God said, I will mark you in the forehead and protect you. So his pineal gland. So Cain, Cain was like all of us. He fucked up. He didn't know. But God, your brain, protected him anyway. Do you understand? So everything is about perspective. Now I can explain the different perspective to these ancient stories, but it's still no good. So if you've had the Kundalini experience and then you relate these stories to your own experience, then you'll go, yeah, that's right. That's so simple. And it makes perfect sense because the perspective I have is from this elevated position. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm on an ivory tower or anything silly like that. It's about consciousness. And for the people that have been doing it, the meditation and things, don't expect results. It comes with time. There's people after 4 weeks. No. No, this is life. This is for the rest of your life. You are becoming a human being, as opposed to your previous incarnation, which was a human doing. It's a metamorphosis. Meta means thought. Metaphysical, thought physical. Metamorphosis, a change of thought. So it's an internal change. The apocalypse, which means the change. But you need to have your own internal experience of your own apocalypse within before it manifests out there. Because there's a big change coming. So whatever government are planning, whatever they're trying to do, whatever. Because nature will do whatever nature will always do what it's always done. And humanity's fought a war against nature. It's got dammed up rivers and experimenting with HAARP, changed the weather. Mankind thinks it's so clever. But you will not stop nature. And nature will stop mankind. That's the Great Reset. Has to happen. And billions are going to get left behind. Now, when you can embrace your own individual higher self, you'll know all the others that are higher. You'll just know. And you won't be concerned about them. When somebody undergoes the metamorphosis and becomes God in the flesh, then you'll be happy about that person dying. Person means mask. It's a persona. And you will celebrate the death of the old and rejoice, Emmanuel. God is with us. Do you understand? And that is an individual human being's sole purpose. That is the crowning glory of life. That is the meaning of life. And to not achieve that means you've used your DNA, you've used the name in vain. Do not use his name in vain. Get it? That's what this is all about. And when that character Jesus said, not one jot or tittle will be changed, he was talking about DNA. He wasn't talking about the fucking scribblings in a book. Remember, Jesus doesn't like the scribes. That's why religious people get so arsey. Oh, they've changed this in the Bible. So what? It's just a book. They've done that thousands of times just to obscure the truth, but you can't hide it. It gets revealed to you. But science tells us that 70% of our DNA is junk. Really? So 70% of what has made you is junk. Isn't science just brilliant? They're so factual. They have so much knowledge, but they